And we're going to be doing a panel discussion this evening. Thrilled to be talking to you in and around the postgraduate certificate in creative and cultural entrepreneurship. My name is Gillian Roddy, and I am one of the program managers here in Tangent. And I'm so delighted to be joined this evening by 4 of the alumni from the PG Cert in creative and cultural entrepreneurship. And so I know that I will do them great disservice if I try and do the introductions, because you'll hear for yourself what a fantastic background each and every one of them has. So if it's okay with everybody, I'd like to hand over to you. Aisling, can I come to you first? Can you tell us a little bit about you and what you're doing and what gives you joy on a day-to-day basis?
Okay, wow, that's a big question. So my name is Aisling O'Rourke. I am a broadcaster and communications coach. And what gives me joy on a day-to-day basis? Gillian, I don't know. Warming up today was a big issue. So definitely that comes in. But look, I love working with people to help them formulate their communication strategy. I really love working with people one-to-one to help them do what they want to do in a more in a clarified version, I suppose. But yeah, it's been an interesting time since we all last met on the first iteration of this particular course in 2020, and I think we've all learned an awful lot from it.
Thank you so much, Aisling. Interesting times. I think that's perhaps one of the most is overused phrases. Is it really? And I don't mean that to slight you in it, but we don't have an alternative yet.
Well,
because
I have taken a fondness for referring to that period of time as the thing that shall not be named. Yeah. So that's how I like to go and use it on a daily basis.
I like that. Aisling, thank you so much, and we'll be coming back to you in a little while. Jade, how about you?
So my name is Jade. And my current role is managing the skilling of film and TV crew for the screen sector. And that's both to upskill existing crew and to skill new crew, new entrants into the industry. My title is a little long-winded, but I'm gonna here we go. I'm the National Talent Crew Academy East Manager. Don't ask me to repeat that. And the Crew Academy East is one of 5 talent academies and is part of an umbrella initiative from Screen Ireland. I came to this role through a career path that began in contemporary dance, dabbled in fashion buying and retail. I pursued film, I sidestepped into education, I returned to film, and now this role amalgamates skilling in the film industry. So that's my career background and where I am currently. What brings me joy on a daily basis, I would have to say, is probably nature. I adore nature. Anything that's outside. Also sea swimming, cold water, food, wine, I'm allowed to say that. Alcohol does bring me joy occasionally. And yeah, people, learning, humanity. That's a really big answer, Gillian.
It's a good answer though, and it's one that we could drill down to in multiple different ways. Jade, thank you so much. And just to say, I can see we've got some people online with us, so please do feel free. I'm going to be speaking to the panelists over the course of the next few minutes, but if you do have any questions, please don't be afraid to pop them into the chat, and some of our staff here will be able to pick up on that. And just to say a big thank you to Hazel, who's behind the scenes and helping out with that. Peter, can I come to you next?
How are you? Yeah, sure. And I was just listening to Jade there. That's one heck of a title. And we were just laughing, saying my office is downstairs from Jade now, which is funny. So I'm going to run upstairs and see at some stage if that title's actually on your door, because that must be a very wide door. Jade, that's brilliant. So my background in context for this is I grew up in Australia. And I worked in a completely different industry when I left school. I worked in commercial marine field, basically, so freight forwarding, import, export, etc. And I worked in that for about 10 years. But my passion was always creativity. So my love was music, writing and songs and performing. And through that, I went into education. I ended up coming back to Ireland. I'm from here originally. And set up a company called Createschool. So that was 2001 we set it up, and I love it. I love every day working in education. I have to say it's non-formal education, and the business has expanded. So we work in creative, digital media, arts and music. And I still do my own practice as well. And there's a team of 5 of us, and we're based in Wicklow, as I was saying, same as Jade, but we travel all over the country. So I found my path in was through what we call TAFE in Australia, which is like technical and further education. I would have done courses there. I kept putting off the degree, which I should have done at the time in hindsight. But anyway, life's like that. You do all these different things. But I've ended up in education. I love it. And I did postgrad. We'll talk about that later. So I came as a lifelong learner who hadn't done the degree, and my experience counted. So I've come from that capacity, or that path rather. And yeah, so I work in primary, secondary, I work with SMEs, work with teachers, students.
Thank you so much, Peter. We'll come back to that now in a couple of minutes and delve a little bit further into that. Sarah, good evening.
Hi,
Tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, my name is Sarah Linsky, and I studied textile design in NCAD, and from there, I graduated in 2011, and then from there I went to Dunn Stores, and I was a designer there for years and years, and I really needed a change from that. And when I had my 3rd child, I decided, like, okay, I'm finally brave enough. I'm going to do this course and I'm going to start my own business, which is what I always wanted to do. So I've started a clothing business, and it's mainly children's wear, but some adults pieces as well. So that's what I'm at the moment.
Fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. And I suppose the lead on, and I want to pause the here and now just for a second. And we're going to go back. And we are going to go back to, unfortunately, in and around the time that the thing did happen, because there was parallels and timelines. But putting the thing aside just for a moment, I'd love to ask you all, and Sarah, I'm going to come to you first. You slightly mentioned it. I'd love you to tell us, one of the things that we very often get asked when people are thinking about applying for the course is, how do I know if this is the right course for me? And, how do I decide, how to go, whether or not to apply? Can you tell us, Sarah, a little bit about, where were you and what helped you to decide, to go into the course?
I think for me, like personally, it was kind of a no-brainer. Like I just love doing courses. Like I just love it. Like I love the kind of structure of a course. I wouldn't have even starting my own business would have been like a serious like it's a challenge anyway, but it would have been worse if I tried to do it alone, like without the help of the course, if you get me. And just like using the course and the time, like allocating time to actually work on your own thing is kind of why I did it and why I thought it was right for me. And that it was like, I didn't have any business background or marketing background. It was all like fashion and design. So I needed that side of it to get the confidence to start.
Yeah. So it provided you with some of the skills that you had, because this is, and I think that, Sarah, your story is brilliant, because you are effectively one of exactly the kind of people that we really hoped to reach out to, when we were developing the course, because, so many people working in the creative and cultural industries, you are sponges of talent, and you have all of these incredible skills at your disposal. And what we want to try and do here at the course is help you to bring a little bit of entrepreneurship and enterprise to that. So, and you, Sarah, you were doing this all while having a small family as well.
So I know you don't want to mention the lockdown, but it kind of worked out for me because I had just had a baby, so everything was on Zoom, but it really suited me because it just meant I had to go upstairs, I didn't have to go anywhere. So I was able to do it with a small family, just to be able to set the time aside, and I got through all the tasks. It was kind of a nice, I don't want to say distraction from the kids, but it was kind of nice to have a bit of me time while all that madness was going on.
Absolutely. No, I think that's perfectly allowed. Yeah, absolutely. Even if it is, marketing frameworks and stuff, it's still something different. Yeah. Thank you so much, Sarah. Peter, your story is a little bit different because, like you said, you had the business already. So what was on your mind as you were coming into the course?
Well, we'd been running as a business for almost 20 years at that stage. So I knew there was when you run a business for that long and it's surviving, but I didn't feel it was flourishing. I felt that I was at my own capacity. I felt that I didn't really, I needed some stimulation. I needed some support. I needed to go somewhere. And I'd done a management development program, which is really, really well run. It was run through the local enterprise office. And then I met you, actually. If you remember, we met, I'd contacted you to see. And then you were saying that this course was coming up. And I've always been really interested in cultural studies, just personally in creativity. So I thought this is a no-brainer. I should try. I was a bit apprehensive because I didn't have a degree. Because, you know, sometimes that's a bit of a stigma. You know, you think, how could I go in and do it? But I felt, I went in with a pretty open mind, I think, and it was great. I knew stuff you do anyway if you're running. Everyone knows. We all have, we know more than we think we know.
Yeah,
it's fair to say. And I had marketing background. I'd run a business, but I didn't know everything. I learned so much from doing the course, and it validates a lot of what you know.
Yeah.
You know, I sound like Donald Rumsfeld here, but it validates the known knowns, and it opens your mind as well.
I think that that's a really important point. And again, it's, I suppose I'll come in at this point to say, so one of the things that I do in Tangent is that I'm one of the program designers. And one of the things that we work very hard at when we're designing the courses is kind of exactly that. It's this acknowledgement that we design courses specifically for adult learners. And so when we design courses, it's not that very, I suppose when you talk about college, a lot of people think of sitting in a lecture theatre and diligently taking notes, etc. But with this course, it is very much about experiential learning. And we genuinely rely on our adult learners to come to the table with their life experience. I guarantee that every single person in the classroom is bringing something to the table. And that's what we're trying to do, is bubble all of that experience up and help you to add on to it. So I'm thrilled to hear you say that, Peter. Thank you. Jade, tell us about you when you were coming into this journey, and what were you looking for, and did you get it?
Yeah. I was millions of ideas, like millions and skillions of ideas. So I was kind of coming into it very open. I didn't particularly have a business idea that I wanted to work on. I was just a really frustrated creative entrepreneur. And similar to Sarah, I didn't really know. I was kind of tied up in loads of obstacles that I'd created for myself, particularly around a fear of failure and like procrastination, not really knowing how to move forward and not having the tools to move forward. And really on a soft skill basis, as opposed to a hard skill basis, you know, it was all about mindset and stuff like that. So the minute I read the course profile, I was like, oh my God, this is exactly what I've been waiting to do for years. Where was this 10, 15 years ago? So it was a really exciting course profile. The modules read like a dream. I came to it with the hope that I would leave the course with tools to tackle the psychology of being an entrepreneur and being innovative, but also that experiential kind of experiential experience, I think, is doubling up on words, but that experience of working through practical tools and mindsets to come out the other end and feeling far more confident and skilled in being able to tackle ideas and identify problems and come up with solutions in a way that had the customer at the center of the experience rather than what I thought they needed. Like, there was so many revelations over the course that were really, really beneficial.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jade. And just to say, and because again, from my point of view as one of the program designers, I'm seeing the common links. But what I'll do is, and actually I'm going to come to you now in a moment, but just to say, because I am seeing a couple of notes coming through about this, we'll talk a little bit about the content of the course. And again, so everybody so far has alluded to it, some of those very practical tools that have been used. So Aisling, I'm going to come to you first, because I'd love to hear about you. What was your reasoning, and tell us about when you were coming into the course, and what were you seeking?
Well, my background, my original undergraduate degree was in journalism in DCU, and I had always had a bit of an irritation in that as part of that, we didn't really get any training when it came to managing our finances. And I went out into the world, and if you have any interest in media, you will know that many people who work in media, whether it's a camera operator or a broadcaster, generally speaking, you work freelance when you start off. Yeah. And it actually wasn't until I got on the course that I realized I'd been running my own business all those years. I hadn't thought about it in those terms. And I suppose when I signed up for the course, I saw the course advertised, and a bit like Jade, the minute I saw it, I thought, yeah, that's for me. And I was in a lucky positioning at the time. I teach in the media department in Ballyfermot College, and some of the modules that I teach, they touch on the stuff that I had learned when I was in college back in the day. And they have that business element and business plans. And there was part of me going, I really want to learn more about this, because I know I've been doing it, but I want to find out more. And so that's really how I came to the course. I kind of recognized that there was gaps in my own knowledge, and I wanted to do something about it. And for me, it was an opportunity to, like, at that stage, I was working like crazy hours. I was a carer for my dad at the time, and I needed something to give myself a bit of perspective on my own work. Like, it's very easy to see potential solutions to other people's problems. Yeah. But it's very hard to get, I think in HR circles, they call it the balcony approach, where you can stand back and look down at your own issue. And for me, that was the thing with the course. I really needed that balcony to be able to take a step back from the work that I was doing and recognizing strengths that I had not recognized previously, and ways that I could, our favorite word, pivot, and maybe, just be a bit more satisfied in the whole work-life balance area. And it just genuinely gave me a chance to pause and assess what I was doing and where I wanted to go with my life.
Yeah, and coming back to what Peter said, it sounds like there's an element of validation in there as well, that you were able to, in that taking stock piece. Yeah. Fantastic.
Really was. It was really valuable, like in that one thing, never mind all the modules, but those light bulb moments, they still, these couple of years down the line, still stick with me.
Can you give us, I don't want to put you on the spot, Aisling, but can you give us one of those, and a moment of impact?
I think for me, it's about trusting my own instinct and trusting my gut. Yeah. And it was something that I was raised with. I was always told, oh, trust your gut, Aisling, you won't go far wrong. And while I would have always have said it to other people, I don't know that I ever believed it about myself. Yeah. And I think actually that opportunity to take a step back, to realize I'm now doing communications coaching. I never would have imagined that I would have had the capacity to do something like that, or that I would have a useful piece of knowledge that everybody else didn't already know. And it was actually being able to take a step back and realize, my God, I've learned so much in the past decade that could be applied in an entirely new way. Yeah. I don't think I would have what I have now were it not for the course.
Because, and that's so interesting, Aisling, that you say that, because I think that this ties in to part of what Peter was saying earlier and what Jade was saying earlier as well. And I think it's one of the hidden benefits, I think, of a course like this. And again, to come back to what I was saying earlier, we rely on people coming to the table in this course. You may not realize all of the life and lived and worked experience that you have. So it's our job to bubble all of that up to the surface and then help you to put something of a formal structure around it, perhaps. And Jade, to come back to what you had, done all of these rich, amazing things. And if I'm right in what I'm hearing, that you were able to, through the course, then have a better understanding of how they all tie together and be repackaged into future career opportunities.
Is that a question, Gillian?
Sorry, it's a comment and a question. It's an observation and then a request to. Am I off track?
You are absolutely on track. Yeah. The course definitely helped me, similarly to Aisling, just identify to value my experience, because I had such a rich background, but I wasn't entirely sure. I hadn't managed to distill down what my strengths were as a result of that background. And also it helped me really clarify what was important to me and what encompassed a fulfilling career for me, like particularly around like values, like my value system, what are my values, how does it relate to how I work, and all of that. So that was really valuable. And yeah, I am actually, as a result, in a new role that combines all of my experience, all of my professional background, but most recently the education element and my experience as a film crew member for the last 10 years. And I was very ready to move in another direction out of being a crew member, but also I've so much experience within that industry that it would have been a shame to just leave it behind. And I feel, similarly to yourself, I imagine, very passionate about people having opportunities to learn. And so it came together really well as a result, really, of having gone through that process on the course.
Brilliant. Thanks, Jade. So as promised, I want to come back to a little bit about the structure of the course. And Sarah, I'm going to come back to you because I do love when people say that they enjoy the structure of a formal education. It's lovely. So with the course, it's a 90 ECTS credit course. So it's broken up into 3 modules. And if everyone can cast their minds back, so the first module that you do is innovation and creativity. So this is where we learn about the frameworks and the ideologies behind and the theories behind innovation and creativity. And then we move into enterprise development, which is much more of the nuts and bolts of building a business. And this is, it's quite a contrast, it's fair to say, to module 1, but it's really where you get the brass tacks of building a business. And from there, you go into career pathways. So Sarah, can you tell us a little bit about, can you remember is there any of those structures or the frameworks that really stick out? And are you using any of those frameworks that you would have learned on the course on a day-to-day basis now?
Yeah, like I remember coming the first month, I kind of liked how it was structured. I didn't know it at the time. It was just sort of on reflection. But the first module was like, you didn't have to like know exactly what you're going to do, like you could still be thinking. And then when we got into the group work, and I know I'm like everyone else, I hate group work. I don't really like it, but oh my God, it was so beneficial because I kind of like, I had been out of formal education for so long. I was just getting used to all the language and everything again. I remember the first project we had, I had to read it like 100 times. I had to get my friend to explain it to me. I just wasn't used to reading and writing like that, like, out of academic stuff. So yeah, like having the group. So then we were put in the group for that, and I just learned loads off everybody else. And then I got back into the swing of it, and I was able to remember, no, I do know all this stuff. Like it's in there somewhere. Do you know that way?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it just really gave me the confidence. I thought the first module was really good because it gave me confidence. It made me like think, okay, what am I good at? Stuff like things like that I'd never really thought about before. Like, and it just like reiterated it for me. So I thought it was really well structured. And then going into the second module, start thinking really about what the idea was going to be, and then putting that on paper and stuff like that.
And that's a really interesting point because about the elements that you found challenging, because we have to be very clear. This is a postgraduate course. It's a level 9. And so there are expectations in terms of the level that's going to be pitched at. So it would be really remiss and disingenuous of us to pretend that this is all a walk in the park, because it's not. It wouldn't be a level in the same way that a postgraduate diploma or a master's or a PhD, when you get to postgrad level, it's never going to be a walk in the park. Mm-hmm. If it was, there's no point in doing it because you're not learning anything. So there are times when it's challenging. And yeah, there's pieces of that, and I'm sure that everyone got frustrated at times, as we all do, but then it's learning to overcome that, and using the supports available to you. Yeah.
And then using the actual, like when it came to module 3 then, and actually getting a business plan down on paper, like I have used that since, like from like various grants I've gone for, or like pitches, like I've actually had that body of work there ready to go, and it'd been, you know, it had been corrected and I knew it was good. Whereas before, if I had have not done the course and tried to write a business plan, like it would have been crap. Like, you know, that way I wouldn't have put the time and effort into it. I wouldn't have known if it was good or not.
Yeah, and that's really, it's because we do a lot of the frameworks and the tools that we teach on the course, they're very practical. They're very practical. Peter, I'm going to come to you because I know that this is something that you've spoken to our students before about, is just how practical some of the tools are. Can you tell us a little bit more about your experience of that?
Yeah, I actually was just making notes there. I'm thinking what resonated with me. There's a couple of things. So first up, I thought the concept of explaining ideation, the mechanics, the theory of creativity. We work teaching creativity all the time, but I'd never actually, and I work like so many of the people on the course, probably I consider myself creative. I write songs or do or whatever, animate, do all the things we do. And I never really sat down to think about it. And it didn't in any way demystify it for me. In fact, it really helped when I understood how creativity actually worked. I was able to help other people understand and improve what we do in my own practice, say, for example, right? So that's one thing. I thought the concept of avatars is brilliant, because often, even like I say, so we're the other end of the extreme. We're dealing for 20 years. You think, oh, I know who my clients are. You don't. I thought really the way of breaking down avatars and thinking how it works, and how our end user, so if we're working in schools, our end user is not our customer. And you thought, actually, I never really thought about that. So you understand how all of that works. That was one thing I've taken away from the course and fed back into work, and all of the team at work understand that now. And it seems so stupid and so simple. Not stupid, that's not right. I mean, it seems silly not to think of that before, and we did, but we didn't quite understand what it was. This course made me stop, think, pull it apart, put it back together. Yeah, we're better for that. Two other quick things I thought was really interesting too. Pricing, understanding how that works. Yeah. And I have a commercial background, and again, I've done marketing at college, etc. At TAFE, and I understood, and I've run a business, but understand pricing. Once you really start to understand the mechanics that value you, and Jade referenced this before, and Ashley, then so too, we all do. You value what your experience is and what your worth is, and you charge accordingly. Yeah. You know, one of Carl's great comments is the first question is, what's your budget? I use that every day. What a mantra. And finally, the power of no. Saying no to things, because we often think as an entrepreneur, we've got to say yes, yes, yes. I understood from this the power of saying no, and I'd encapsulate all of those in theories that I've learned from this course.
Fantastic. And Peter, that is such that the value of yourself, and I think it's fair to say that this is something that we see across all of this course in particular, because across society, we see this chronic undervaluing of creative and cultural skill sets. Yes. It's chronic. It's everywhere. It's absolutely everywhere. And so and I'm not going to pretend that we have the answers on the course, but we do have, exactly as you say, what we do have is we have tools and frameworks to help people to, it's perhaps slightly different if you're more of I'm going to say a traditional entrepreneur in, you know, say you're coming in as a you want to build an idea, a product or a service that is entirely separate to you. But so often with amazing people like you are the skill set. And so putting a price on your entrepreneurship idea means putting a price on yourself. Yeah. And I think it's a very difficult thing for anybody to do, but particularly so with the people who would typically take part in this course. Yeah, so
and minding themselves, you know, that's what I mean about the power of no, to say no and look after yourself too, and value your creativity and your energy. And that's the thing I valued in this course as well. I often we're on a hamster wheel and you keep going.
Yeah.
but the power of pricing and the power of knowing your worth and the power of no, they empower you.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Absolutely. Thanks, Peter. Aisling, how about you? Have you been using any frameworks or tools, or what were your big takeaways in terms of practical elements from the course?
I think that there was a question there in the Q&A from Nicola McKenna about having time to do your own creative practice. Do you still have time to do that? I think I got more time as a result, because I now have the time management skills that I needed. I have the headspace. Like there was, like, as Peter said, we all spend so much time running on a hamster wheel. Whereas actually, when you get the opportunity to spend some time investing in yourself, which is effectively what doing the course is, you're investing in yourself. And now I'm better able to manage everything I want to do, because I wear many hats. You know, and I'm a very busy person, and my downfall has always been I'm a bit of a workaholic, and I'm not very good at setting aside time for minding myself, relaxing, socializing. And I think putting the things in place, like the time management skills we learned, like the business model, the lean canvas, I'd never heard of it before, you know, all of those things have really helped in putting a structure on my own day to day. I hadn't expected to get that out of the course. And it sounds very simple. And you're going, why do I need a course to do that? But it has been really beneficial in that way. And the other thing as well that shouldn't be forgotten, like for myself, Jade and Peter, we were in the one class group. We all started together in January 2020. Our WhatsApp group is still chatting away. Maybe we just got lucky and we ended up being in a one group with particularly nice people, but I doubt that, you know. We had a great bunch of people. We supported each other right the way through the course, and even still, and we have questions on sometimes a daily, sometimes a weekly basis. A few of us, we meet up from time to time as much as we can and support each other, because the network you get through the course, you know, even if it's someone who might be able to help you with, like, maybe you might not have the skill set you need for a particular project, but you know someone in the course who will be great at that, you can bring them in. But sometimes it's just really nice to have a group to sound off ideas to, who are not in the workplace with you or who are not your family. And that's really beneficial, and something that I think we as a group will definitely continue.
That's wonderful, Aisling. And I was only saying it to everyone before we went on the webinar. It's one of the hidden elements of the courses. It's that networking piece that is so important. You have a ready-made circle of people who share your worries and who share the imposter syndrome and who share the stress and the hamster wheel feeling. And it's fair to say that that exists across all of our courses. And one of the things that we're working very hard at behind the scenes at Tangent is to really develop that alumni network. And so it's something that we're very cognizant of. As I said, if we want you to come in and bring your skills to the table, we also want to find ways to, you know, keep nurturing those skill sets as you move forward. Aisling, thank you for that. There's some bits and pieces there that I'd love to pick up on in a couple of minutes. But Jade, I'd like to come to you. How about you, the practical elements of the course that you found yourself using as you've gone beyond?
Yeah, I mean, I adored all the practical aspects of the course. Similar to Aisling, like the lean business canvas model was an absolute revelation, and customer proposition, like putting the customer at the center, the jobs to be done for your customer, that's your starting point as opposed to the solution you are envisioning for them. So those kind of practical tools are really helpful, I think, for the people who are listening here, who are creative and cultural innovators or pioneers or entrepreneurs. The practical tools that you learn. I mean, there's a lot to list, and I can't recall them all off the top of my head. But some of the ones I mentioned there are going to be entirely invaluable as they begin to figure out how they're going to set up their enterprise and innovate within their art form. For me, I'm currently what we would say is an intrapreneur as opposed to an entrepreneur in my current role, in that I'm innovating within an organization that's not my idea. But again, like, the loads of tools that I learned on this course that are helping me within my role as an intrapreneur. And one of them, and I consider it practical, is definitely around mindset and like having a growth mindset. And like I said, I was quite fearful and a bit like a procrastinator and quite risk averse coming onto the course. And the tools that I learned around growth mindset and tackling this apparent dirty word of failure and repositioning that in my mind as something that isn't a dirty word, but actually an essential part of the process of learning and evolving and developing. And I would say, for me in my current role, that is the tool I would use most and has been invaluable as I develop professionally.
Yeah, and Jade, it's a really important point actually, because I know we often talk about entrepreneurs and in fact, you know, I think there's an element of everybody here on the panel who would consider themselves an entrepreneur. But you just hit on a really important point, that entrepreneurialism is also a very important element of what we do here. And those tools that you've learned are, I think it's probably important to say as well that, and you don't, it's hard to understand what the tools are unless you've been through some classes, but it's just to say that these are very accessible tools. These aren't maths equations. It's not long division, or they are very practical. It's you could really sit, and they're fun, a lot of them. They're good crack, and they make sense. So Jade, can you give us an example? And again, I don't want to put you on the spot, but can you give us an example of that type of entrepreneurialism that you've used in work?
Yeah, so I suppose like the organization that I'm working in now is a relatively new organization, and there's a lot to be figured out and a lot to be developed and a lot of frameworks to put in place, a lot of processes, and it requires a lot of bravery, of, you know, like in the sense of believing in the skills that I have, believing in my experience, and communicating that in an articulate way and in a strong way. So like it could be anything from like a program we're developing that's a bridging course for new entrants into the industry from a third level course, because typically or historically the industry has been very hard to access, and there's been no particular transparent way that people get into the film industry. It's always been who you know type culture. So like we're developing these bridging courses, but there's a huge amount of room there for my input and my creativity and my kind of thinking around that, and using some of those skills around user experience and that kind of thing. So it's kind of, yeah, so that would be one practical application. Is just, like I said, I consider a mindset a real practical application. Yeah. And also that distilling of what my skills are and how I can apply them in a real world situation in an organization that is just being set up, and I have this opportunity to bring them to the table. I don't know if that's your question, Gillian. I don't know if I got a bit flighty there.
No, it was perfect, Jade. And it's reminded me of recently, we saw one of our frameworks being used in the wild. It was somebody from another course, and they had screenshotted a customer journey map that they were using in a healthcare setting. And it was just so brilliant to see the direct application of something. Again, that's what I mean. It's so accessible and they're so usable, and you can use them in so many different types of settings. So that's brilliant. It's perfect. Thank you, Jade. Okay, folks, I'm going to start. I'm just keeping an eye on the time, and we'll begin to wrap things up. What I would look, so let's take it for granted that if you were to give everybody, you know, one piece of advice, it would be do the course. So we'll take that as read. But if you were to give our audience, you know, let's assume that we have an audience of creative and cultural entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs. Is there any other advice, having walked this walk, that you would give people? Sarah, what about you? Is there any words of wisdom that you have?
I think that you should just go for it. And then secondly, I think, like, personally, I thought this helped me when I did the course. If you just do little things in stages and don't put a big, huge expectation on yourself, I have to make this business, I have to do this thing. I just did stuff in little stages, like I set up the company name, and then I might do the logo, and then I just didn't put loads of pressure on myself to do it. And I said, if I just do one collection, I'd be just so delighted, because I just always wanted to try it. And now I'm about to launch the second collection. So it's just going to keep going from there, hopefully. But I just think that, like, just go for it and just do little bits at a time so it doesn't get overwhelming.
Superb. Huge. Sarah, if we want to keep an eye out for when the next collection is going to drop, where should we be looking?
You should look maybe at the website, maybe Banana Berry Design, or the Instagram. I'm pretty active on the Instagram, Banana Berry Design.
Fantastic. And the very, very best of luck with it. It sounds fantastic. Brilliant. Aisling, how about you? Any pearls of wisdom for anybody who's listening?
A little bit like Sarah, I would say, like, okay, it's an academic course. There are assignments. And my big thing was, if you don't understand the assignment when Carl or Gillian or whoever it is hands it out, ask. You know, if you don't understand something that's said in the class, I guarantee you maybe 1 or 2 or 3 or even 5 other people in the room are equally confused. And all it takes is for the first person to put up their hand and say, actually, Gillian, can you repeat that there? I just didn't quite catch it. So that's my first thing, is don't go home stressed about it. Ask in class, because everyone's there to help you. And then it's about being open to the possibilities and getting to know, like, put some effort into getting to know your classmates. You never know when you might be able to help each other along the way.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And there was a thing I know, and I think it's fair to say, a frustration on behalf of some of the people that were teaching us in Trinity at the time, where we were looking for mentors, and we're like, yeah, but no one's asked us. You have to actually ask the question. You can't just be, wanting something. They're not psychic. So if there's something you want, ask. And it's as simple as that, really.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And actually, it's such a good point. And again, it comes back to what we were saying earlier. We're not expecting everybody to come in, and perhaps this is something that we haven't addressed, but it was touched on earlier. We do acknowledge that for most people coming into this course, it's a return to a very foreign place. When you've been in all of that lived and worked experience, coming back into an academic setting can be, I think, Sarah, did you say that when you got the assignment scriptures first, you had to read them a fair few times?
Yeah.
And that's entirely normal. Again, coming back to our job is to challenge you. If it was all very easy, it loses, the course loses validity. But Aisling, it's such a good point. Like, we're relying on people to speak up and ask for help. Sarah, who did you ask for help when you were doing your assignments?
Well, luckily the kind of first big assignment was in the group project, so it was just a matter of asking who was in the group. And I know you touched on it earlier, it was just about, like, the rest of the guys on the panel were all in a course together, but equally my course is the same. We're all still supporting each other, talking to each other, WhatsApping each other, and it's just, that was brilliant, just being around like-minded people, and everyone's really supportive and really helpful. So that was just amazing.
Absolutely. Even if that's just to say to everyone, if you're in the WhatsApp, and I know that as this happens, everyone's going, what's going on? That's fine. That's a very commonly asked question. What's going on? I don't know. That's good. That's fine. That's fine. Jade, how about you? Any words of wisdom?
Yeah, they'd be quite similar to Aisling and Sarah. It can be a little bit of a shock coming on to back or re-entering the education system and becoming familiar again with that kind of education jargon. And I would say, like both Aisling and Sarah have said before, like your team, your classmates are a massive, massive resource for you. And you do a lot of teamwork as part of the course, which I think can be challenging, but you do address those challenges as part of the modules. And you get to figure out the different stages that a group goes through with group dynamics, which is really helpful because you do a lot of teamwork. So you have to navigate those dynamics. But one of the amazing supports that comes out of that is that you have each other to bounce off. You learn so much from everyone's experience, and you just get to be yourself and clarify things and say, I don't know stuff, and someone inevitably in your team will know something or be able to kind of contribute some kind of clarity. Other than that, like you've made the point, Gillian, the course isn't like a walk in the park. You know, it is challenging. So do be aware that there is going to be an ask on your time and an ask on your energy. But I would say it's very, very rewarding and definitely worth the challenging times and the ask on your time. And yeah, I think that's it. Like again, there, that bias toward action, taking actions, and you will have the tools, or you will learn the tools to have that mindset, like your SMART goals and mindset, etc. So yeah, I would just say, if you're thinking about and applying for the course, and anything that we've said has touched something in you, I would say just apply. It's been really, really rewarding.
Thank you so much, Jade. Appreciate it. Peter, last but not least, share your sage wisdom.
Okay, I just listened to what everyone said, and I agree with everything that everybody said. I having not been in third level education at that level before, I did find some of the language in writing essays and what have you, preparation, it was a bit of a challenge, but it wasn't insurmountable, you know. And now I know I'm not rushing out to write another academic paper, but I've done it, you know, and it's doable. It really is. Don't be put off by that. I'd say two things. One is the network that's there. Every lecturer or speaker who I approached for advice or help afterwards or whatever, everybody did. And some to this day I've stayed in touch with. And that's in addition to the colleagues that your cohort that you work with. You know, you'll find some people that you naturally click with, but every one of those lecturers who I asked a question of, somewhere down the line, I still think of some of the slides of presentations, and if something happens, what was that? They've always come back and give me an answer. And it's brilliant to know, because I wouldn't have known those people otherwise. And the last thing I'd say, look, everyone has different approaches, and approach is key. Language for me is, I wanted to always make sure, because it can be tough in your time, that this is something I wanted to do and not have to do. So, you know, we all have those jobs around the house that you have to do or whatever, and it's a pain in the backside. But I always wanted to make sure Saturday morning I made sure I had time to read back over something, because that's what I needed to do to get it in my head. Maybe some people are like me. But I enjoyed reading back over lessons or classes. You get all the slides and the notes. And I found that was great. That was like my time. And you have to give time to the course. Not to necessarily do work, but depending, we're also busy and stuff goes flying through. So just to go back over stuff and want versus have would be my thing. So use that language if that helps.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. And a huge thank you to all of the panelists this evening. It's really been, it's always such a joy to talk to you all, and to know that we played even a small part in the amazing journeys that you've been on. And thank you. And thank you to everybody for joining us this evening. So applications for the postgraduate certificate in creating cultural entrepreneurship, they are open right now. We advise everybody to start your application soon, because offers are made on a rolling basis. If you have any queries whatsoever, please don't hesitate to contact us, springboard@tcd.ie. There's live chat available as well on our website, and the phone number is there for you to contact us as well. But really and truly, a massive thank you to all of our panelists. Aisling, can't wait to hear you on the radio again. Sarah, the very, very best of luck with the new drop. Peter, listen, I keep seeing your name all over Trinity now at this point. You've got your finger in so many fantastic academic pies. Absolutely wonderful to see you thriving. And Jade, you're going to have to invite us down to the new office when you're there, and we can swap some education theories and backgrounds. Thank you all so very much for joining us this evening, and to everyone viewing, I do hope that we see some of you in the Tangent classrooms very, very soon. Thank you all so much. Have a lovely, lovely evening.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye,
folks.
See you soon.